CALPADS navigation. Okay, this is the wonderful world of CALPADS. So get used to this. This is the place where you're going to be at. Up here in the top left-hand corner, we have the CALPADS icon. This icon, because it's useful once you get into CALPADS. If you're in a location in CALPADS and you want to go right back to home, you'll click on the icon. This section of CALPADS, terms and conditioning. You remember when I was talking about the application, how important it is for you to actually make sure it's in your name, make sure it's your application, because these terms say that when you check this box, if something goes wrong, they come after. So in other words, what I'm saying, read it one time, make sure you read through it. You know, I know if you're like me, what happens, I'll say, man, it's more than 2 paragraphs, I'm going to skim it. Actually read it one time in your life. Logging in. First of all, you have already put in your application. We already talked about it. And you've got your response back for your application. And you got your email from CDA saying, hey, here's, go, reset your password, get your password in. You have your username, and that's usually your email address, okay? The domain email address that you use. And then you got your password. That's the password section. And this right here is saying, oh, I read this and I agree to this. I'm knowledgeable about what I'm supposed to do when I'm in CALPADS, and that's what that means. Then you have your login button. That's a button that allows you to log in, and then you can remember your login information. And then you have your forgot password. But here, what you do, you just click on the password. I forgot password. When you click on I forgot password, you put in your email address, the one that is associated to your LEA admin account, and click submit. Once you click submit, what happens is it sends another email to you, and that other email has, click on this link to reset your password. And you reset your own password without the help of CSIS support, without putting in a ticket or anything, and boom, what happens? You check the box and you log in. Now, what happened? The CALPADS homepage loaded. This is the CALPADS homepage. I'm going to tell you, up here in the top left-hand corner, you have, this is called a show hide button. You click it once, the left menu, navigation menu goes away. You click it again, it comes back. And the reason why I'm telling you about that, CALPADS can be used on mobile devices such as your phone or anything like that. If the screen gets too crowded, it will come up like this. You won't have the left navigation bar, but this button will be up at the top like that, and you can activate it. So if you ever come into CALPADS and it comes in this way and you say, oh, where's my left navigation? Just know that, one, you have right-hand corner, you probably have it where your screen, you're not doing full screen and your screen's too small. That's one way to fix it. The other way to fix it is just click on this left navigation, okay? And as I said before, this logo has now activated. It's a way to get back home if you get lost. And the user menu, it allows you to get, like when you hover over these icons here, it gives you, it actually gives you a hint. It allows you to get help, gets to your profile, change your password, and get logged out. This is where you would get that at. So if I go here, if I click on it, you have these options. These are the options that we spoke of. And then you can log out if you need to log out of CALPADS. Now, a little helpful hint, I can click here all day long on this little red chevron and nothing will happen. All day, wear my finger out. What you have to do in CALPADS is hover over the actual drop down. When you click on the actual drop down of the organization indicator, it gives you a list of all the organizations that you are associated with, all the ones that you been given permissions to. And that segues into what you're going to see in CALPADS. You're only going to have access to what you've been given access to in CALPADS. So if I go here and let's say I think it's this one here, and I select that, CALPADS has changed my organization, my roles, my access to what is associated to ABC Unified CELPA. So everything that I have access to will show up in CALPADS, and only that. So if you ever get in here and you have multiple organizations that you're associated with, and you get in here and you get that big red gradual sign across the top that says access denied, access denied, that means that you don't have access and the roles are not granted for that. So what would you do? You would go into the admin area, which we're going to talk about later. So I might as well get ready. On the left-hand side here, this is the left nav. It starts with the home page. So let's get a little deeper than that. We got online maintenance. If you click on the online maintenance, you have the student data. Okay, what I just did, I brought the sub menu down for like that we're talking about here, and I glanced up here to make sure that I was in my CSIS Berkeley training. Now I'm confident when I click on this icon, that will happen instead of access denied. So when you're wanting to look for a student, this is where you would go, the student data maintenance. Why would you say that? It says search for student and request ID. Okay, so if one of you guys submit a ticket and say, where do I request a SSID? Where would that be at? That would be under student data maintenance and search for the student. Because if you have SSID, you can put it in here like that and do the search. But if you don't have a SSID, what you would do, you're in your local system and you're just searching to make sure that what you have in your local system that is already corrected, because you've already been there, you've already done that, and you know that it's corrected, you would have that available for you. So what you're actually looking for is what's in CALPADS, because you got an error that's happened. You'll learn all about that in data population. What you would do, you can put in your actual student's name. No, not real student. You saw something just happen. This is one of the biggest problems that I've had to talk to people about, is the cache problem in the browser. Well, I really didn't type that in. That's not what I put in there. Maybe the browser put it in there for you through the cache. When I realized that this is the name I want, it went and found the closest thing to it and put it in the browser automatically. Okay, so this is called the student lookup, and you're looking up by demographics. It's also connected to request an ID. Why is that? If CalPads can't find that student, it's going to take you to another location where you can request the ID. That's why the slash is in there. And then you have search by enrollment. You can search by the school enrollment and search for the student like that. So if I go back here and I've got real student here, what else do we have on this page? We have where we can look up the student, or you can actually try to advanced search through request an ID. And we have these text boxes that you enter data in. Things that are not indicated there, it doesn't highlight for you, okay? This little thing here is just like the ones up before. It's a little question mark in red. It gives you a clue of what you need to enter in the text box. So that's a little helpful hint that comes up there. For dates, you can type the dates in, but I wouldn't recommend it because sometimes we get kind of sloppy with dates and stuff. You have this little icon here, which is a calendar icon. You click on that calendar icon, it brings this up. And the reason why I want to bring this in front of you, because the first time I used it, I was like, okay, I was, doing the simple thing that everybody else does, is arrow to go that way. So I'm going to click this to go to the left, and I'm going to click that to go to the right. It's going to take me 50 years to get to the date that I want. So the way this works, I clicked on that, brings up the calendar, and then you hit in the center. Click. Now it displays the months related to a single year. Okay, but today's date is still down there. Okay, but that's not the year I want. I want 2007. Okay, so I click it again. Now it's displaying a decade. So I just back up. I want 2007. Boom. Now I want the month of November. Boom. I want the 22nd. Boom. It's filled in. So if you get used to using it that way, you can get those enrollment start dates in, enrollment exit dates in, birth dates, all those dates in really quick, so you're not sitting there wasting 3, 4, 5 seconds typing when you can get it all in there in less than 2.5 seconds. So that's a cool thing. Here it comes on the student details when I did the search with the SSID. Okay. Under the details, you have these little cards, these things I like to call cards, because it's a representation of the information that you entered in previously on the previous screen on the search for student breadcrumb screen. That information is populated automatically for you, okay? Then it brings in information that it already knows about the student here, right? That's in this top container. That's what you're going to see. But below that is the student details, exactly what this says. It's the details of the student. By clicking on this chevron, you can collapse or open that section. Boom, boom. You can span or contract that section, okay? So when you go in here, we're looking at the student information for that student. It's down there. You have different areas. Blue with underline means that you can sort ascending or descending, okay? So keep that in mind. Also, anywhere in CALPADS, blue with underline in a container means you can drill down to get more information. It's like called a hyperlink. The thing in CALPADS is the theme of CALPADS now is a team effort. Everybody, it takes a village. Everybody's working together to get the data in the proper place, in the proper way, in the proper hands, okay? So with that in mind, there's little ways that you can help yourself out instead of sitting there typing everything out, okay? On this screen, say if I needed to talk with my student English language acquisition person. I want them to take a look at this record because this guy does not have any information about, if he's an English learner or not. Okay, you'll learn about all this later. I'm just giving you a scenario so it builds a picture in your mind. I would click on this and I would look and I'd say, oh, I need to send the email, and that site person, I've given them access school level so they can see what I'm going to see. So I want them to go into CALPADS real quick and take a look and see what the problem is with that record. Okay, what you do is you go up here at the URL, highlight it, right click, copy it. You can open up a new browser, put it in a new browser, paste it, hit enter, boom. Once you hit enter, it takes it right to that same spot. Okay, the reason why I do it first, and the reason why I want to do it first, is I want to make sure that it takes it. CALPADS does take it there, or it didn't grab something from the cache and put it in there and takes them to a site that you don't want them to go to, or something like that. I want to test it first. Okay, once I've tested it, I copy that, paste it in the email, put a little blurb into it. None of this information up here is nothing you have to worry about the privacy part, because it's just including the SSID. And if they don't have rights access to that point, they will not be able to get to that point. So you can send them this through an email, okay? And when Susie Jones gets that email, and you have a list of 100 students she needs to go through, she can click on that link and it will take her directly to this section, and she's taking CALPADS Basic, so she knows she needs to click here and say, oh man, I forgot to give him that student's information. Let me get that information from the CUNE file and send it to him. Showed you the homepage. I showed you the organization. I showed you where you can see who you are. I showed you where you can get around. And we ended up in some students' details. In the student details, what you can do is another feature. There's a button here that's called Open. Okay, what does that mean? When you click on that button, it opens what we call a modal. It's a CALPADS modal. I'm going to tell you a little bit about this little device. It's like a pop-up, you know, so it's going to, but it pops inside. It doesn't pop up. It pops inside the actual browser, but it acts the same as a pop-up, okay? It gives you the title of where you're at the top. Then you have those little cards that you hit across the top there. Then all the information that you can't change will be grayed out. Okay, that's in there. Then you have the same navigational features as you have in all CalPads. You have the drop downs. You have the asterisk. That means that is required. You'll figure out all this information here when you're going through the actual CalPads population training with Nate and Kyron. And anytime you click a button, these are little buttons here. These little indicator buttons. Okay, click it here, you click it there. When it's not selected, it's clear. When it is selected, it's not clear. Okay, so just keep that in mind. The other things that you're going to see, you got a little helpful hint here. Fields marked with asterisk are required. So if you start clicking validate and you're getting all these errors, the first thing what you want to do, you want to look for that asterisk and make sure there's something in that box with it. Okay, and you can click to get out of anything in CalPads. You got the X at the top, and you have the cancel button at the bottom. So it's according to where you're at. If you're at the top of the page, cancel out of it. If you're at the bottom of the page, hit the cancel button. Okay, and that brings you back to the windows. Now, these are all containers for student details. This is everything that is represented in those records that you're putting in like that. And as I said before, click on it and it opens it and it closes it. Okay. At the bottom of the screen, you got some helpful information here. It's called the documentation. You got your data guide. That's vaguely referred to as sometimes as the all-knowing of CalPads. Okay, so anytime you have a pushback from manager or something saying why are you putting that data in there like that, you go to data guide, open it up in Word. In the top menu of Word, there's view navigation. Click that navigation, activate the navigation pane on the side like that, type in SSID, hit search. It brings up everything about SSID in the data guide. Look through the list, find what you want, click it, copy it, paste it in that email and say, this is why. It's because this is what the documentation states that has to be put in there so the state and federal government can use the data that we have. Okay. Then you have the SSID enrollment that tells you about everything about SSIDs. And then you have the error list, tells you when you get an error in CalPads, you'll go to the spreadsheet and you'll find that error code, like cert 001 or something like that. You'll learn about that in fall 1. And in there, you will see a definition of the error, what the error name is, and a clue on how to fix that error. So that's why I say that's your buddy list. CalPads frequently asked questions is another link that you're getting there. And this is questions like someone's asked in the past, was strong enough question that CDE took note of it and they gave an official answer for it. Okay, you'll go here, put it in. You can actually highlight the whole page, copy, paste it into Word, and then open up the navigation pane, and then you can start doing the same search, and then you can find your answer that way. Then the current known issues list. The keyword is current known issue list. There's a known issues list in the system and documentation link page too, but it's not as current as the one that lies inside of the CalPads footer. So you as an admin, you want to go here to look for known issues when that page keeps saying access denied or it turns into server error, or you click on a link and it takes you to the wrong page or something like that, go here and see if it's listed as CalPADS designers already know about it and they're working on it. That'll save you some headache. And then you got your valid code combo. You'll learn about that in fall too. Oh, one little point. If you're down at the bottom where you click here, it takes you to the top, okay? And then you can scroll. We're actually on slide 56. Under help, you have your system documentation, the error list we talked about, the user manual. Click on the user manual, what happens? It opens up in a new tab. Say we were talking about roles. You start typing in roles, and look what happens. It tells you the access roles, the user roles, and it gives you examples. It's really user friendly. It shows you how to use it. This is your friend. And so you put in SSID. There we go. Student search. SSID enrollment is what you're wanting them to give a little clue on what's going on. You click on that, and it starts talking about the SSID enrollment. It tells them a little bit about what's going on with that. So along with that link that you sent with them, you can copy this link and place it in there for them. And when they get that list of SSIDs, it drops them with the instructions that they need to go along with, if they need some help with that. So that's another little hint, because it's moving, you're moving more efficiently through CalPADS, and you're communicating more efficiently with your colleagues and your teammates and who you need to get the data from with CalPADS. You're giving them more time to help you help yourself. Okay, so we got the containers in the middle. It's giving me information. It's telling me that the Foster data has been reported. The direct cert is ready. All that kind of information is there. And you got your extract information. Let's talk about extracts. Where do I get the information I want to get out of CalPADS that I may want to put back into my local system? That is called extracts, because you're extracting the data out of the local system. From the left nav, where we were before, is here. Extracts, right? From the center container, you can go to any extracts that you've already submitted to get by just clicking on that, the blue letters with the underline. As I said before, it is an indicator. CalPADS is telling you there's more if you just click. Okay, so if we go to extracts, and it brings us to the extracts page. Okay, on the extracts page, you have across the top, request an extract. And these are all the extracts you can request across through here. So ODS for extracts, remember, what about the ODS? You'll be able to get the current data when you extract, okay? Then you have your SSID extracts, because it was mirrored in CalPADS, and it's the exact same thing that you had previously. You can download it from here. From that point is a starting point for you to be able to actually have some information to start all over again. Candidate lists, you have your candidate list if the students that need to be put in CalPADS. Then you have your rejected errors list. This is here. And that's if you have a bunch of errors and you just want to get a copy of those errors from the records that you put in. It's there. Say, when you go through the anomalies, you'll run into a thing called mid. I'm just talking about it, so don't worry about it right now, because when you get into the anomaly training, it will be explained to you in detail. But when you have a mid, that means one student has two identifiers, okay? The person that owns that mid, they correct it. It's a different SSID than what you have in your system. You can download a copy of the replacement SSIDs right here. Direct cert, that reports, you can get an extract right here from that. And for the new CalPADS, case missed to CalPADS, this is for the SEPA admin, this is an area where they can go and get a discrepancy extract for it like that. But once you click on that and you determine which extract you're going to get like that through the modal, what happens is you can click on it will go into this process here, and it will say processing is status, and when it's done, it will say download. Now, just as a hint, in case someone decides to do it now, there's a way you can tell whether or not the operation failed or the operation is correctly downloaded what you want. And that's over on the far right-hand side, file size. If that file size says 0 bits, that means that no data was pulled. That's a blank file. That means that something you select, maybe it was the time frame that you selected, maybe it was you were really trying to get some other type of data and you didn't correctly determine that type of data that you wanted to get. Boom, boom. And maybe the date range that you try to use, that data is not in that date range, and you went ahead and you submit it. CalPADS is not going to be the Wizard of Oz and say, you can't submit that data. No, it's going to take it in there, and it's going to create a blank file for you and say complete, because it's not going to look at the data. So that's when you extract data. The first thing you do after it gets here is look and see what the status is. Is complete? Yes, it's complete. Then you just go over here and see the file size and make sure it says it's above 0. But if it says it's 0, don't even bother looking at it, because it's just an empty file. Okay, that's extract. That's requesting the extract. Reports. This is what the reports look like. Once you get in as a new user, I know some of you are not exactly new users, which means you probably have touched the reports before, and there are some that may have never done reports in CalPADS. You'll get used to it, and you'll get really, really used to it when you do Fall 1 certification in reports training. They'll go on details. My job here is to show you what it looks like and what you can do with it. So the reports will come up like that. This is the one I was trying to get us to. Okay. And at the bottom, at the top of the reports, you're going to have a, I wonder if I have a copy. No. You're going to have some areas, the same filtering across, one that will go in across here that will actually show you advance the page or go back on the page. But the main one looks like a little bitty icon of a floppy disk. And I bet a lot of you people don't even know what a floppy disk is, because that's a long time ago. We used thumb drives, but it's a icon of a floppy disk, and when you click on it, it says save as. What you can do when you click save as, it will allow you to save it as an Excel spreadsheet. And that's the one that you want. These documents, once you get it drilled down to the information you really want to look at, save it as a Excel spreadsheet, and then you can use the Excel filtering, the Excel lookups, all the little functions of Excel, because you guys are expert at Excel. You can use that to narrow it down and get to the data that you want. But inside CalPADS, you have the ability, when you have that underline, as I said before, when you click on the underline, it will drop it down to what we call an aggregate report. The aggregate report breaks it down to the student level. Okay, so the top level is broken down by the school or district. Okay, when you click on this, it's going to bring you to the actual aggregate level of data, where it breaks it down to just the student and everything, the actual student level like that. So that's basically the reports. Other than that, there's a place in the user manual. You go to the user manual and type in report mapping guide. For whatever report you're on, type in report mapping guides, and it breaks down each one of these cells into what they mean, these elements into what they mean, and how that number became that number from the data that you put in your local system and mirrored into CalPADS. Okay, so this 6, if you go in the report mapping guide of 1.1 and you go to title, Title 1, Part C, migrant, like that. In there, there's an actual thing, an actual report mapping guide that breaks down, that lets you know which fields elements that you put in to CalPads that makes this number look like a 6. Okay, and then you can break it down even further by clicking on the here, and you'll see the actual element that you put in a no in for English learner, like that. And that's how the basics of reports. Okay, and later on we're going to try to do some documentation tips, so ways to get through that a little further too. So you got that to look forward to.